Hello everyone. Daily update on Russia-Ukraine crisis. Starting with Biden is saying Putin is setting up for an invasion, which if accomplished will result in severe US sanctions far beyond 2014. Biden prefaced this by saying the US believes Russia will extend deeper beyond the Donbas region. So Biden is, or U.S. administration is suspecting that conflict is going to be beyond the Donbas region, so much more expanded. Biden introduced the first tranche of sanctions to impose cost on Russia as well, which includes implementing full blocking sanctions on two major banking institutions, including a key military bank. He also unveiled sanctions on Russia's sovereign debt and previewed punitive measures on certain Russian elites and their family members. Now, if it's hard to say at this point if these are going to be effective enough to deter Russia from any further escalation. But from what I am reading, these are not very strong enough sanctions. He also stated that his administration will work with Germany to ensure Nord Stream 2 will not, as I promised, move forward. Nord Stream 2 is the gas pipeline between Germany and Russia. Coming hours after Berlin said that it's halted the certification process for Russia, the German natural gas pipeline. Now, yesterday when I covered the crisis update, I said that I don't suspect Europe will be shooting itself into the foot or in the foot by sanctioning, natural gas or related things. But it seems they are willing to go further than what my expectation was, and they are going to effectively cause much higher gas and oil prices in Europe. And I will cover that in a bit more detail in few minutes. Biden briefly addressed a military level response to Russia's aggression, emphasizing that the US is reacting with only defensive moves and saying that we have no intention of fighting Russia. So Biden don't want boots on the ground from America side. Whether NATO collectively takes certain actions and with boots on ground, we'll see. It hasn't happened yet, or maybe it has, it just hasn't come out in the light yet. Either way, we don't know. And so far they are not willing to put boots on the ground. So on the Russia side, Putin issued a security demands for the West, calling for a recognition of Crimea as part of Russia, halt to weapon shipments to Ukraine, and that's basically NATO weapon shipments, and end to Ukraine's NATO bid. Those are the demands coming from Russia to achieve any de-escalation. And from the Europe side, Putin is not currently on the EU sanction list under preparations. I will cover what EU is preparing to put sanctions on in a minute, but Putin is not going to be sanctioned, at least so far. Moving on, Blinken has now cancelled his meet that was supposed to happen with the Russian foreign minister on Thursday, which kind of means that is an ominous sign, and conflict will escalate further. Two notable events late in the day Tuesday strongly suggest further escalation on the horizon. First, the US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has announced he cancelled his meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, which had for days been set for Thursday. So that's first. He cited as a reason for the cancellation Russian invasion of Ukraine. So he, Russia moving its peacemakers and troops into Donbas region is the reason for cancellation. Now that we see the invasion is beginning and Russia has made clear its wholesale rejection of diplomacy, it does not make sense to go forward with that meeting at this time, the US top diplomat continued, or said. Despite the apparent rejection of face-to-face talks at this point, Blinken indicated diplomacy remains open, though it's increasingly not looking that way. Well, if there are not going to be any talks, then how they are going to achieve diplomacy? Also alarming is that French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian said the same day that his own meeting with the Lavrov, which is the Foreign Minister of Russia, which has been set for Friday, is also cancelled. And second alarming development is that Ukraine president has called up reserves, so military reserves, but is also assuring that there won't be any general mobilization of forces. So he has called reserves, but still thinks that no large-scale conflict. So President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine described the reserve forces as being called up for military training, but stressed the diplomacy would continue. We desire peace and calm, but if we are quiet today, then tomorrow we will disappear. So while he's stressing that no large scale conflict, but we can't take it lying down either. Moving on, Russia has evacuated its diplomats from Ukraine. That's another ominous sign that things will escalate further in the coming days. Russia Ministry of Foreign Affairs has announced its decision to evacuate its diplomatic staff from the embassy in Ukraine and 3 consulates across the country, citing threats of physical violence. So since 2014, Russian embassy in Kiev, consulate generals of our country in Odessa, Lviv and Kharkiv have been subjected to repeated attacks, and basically the diplomats and ambassadors from these 4 locations will be pulled out. Moving on, as I mentioned earlier, now the sanctions have started being invoked or imposed on Russia. This is going to have financial and monetary impacts, so this is the first one. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has issued an order to halt the process of certifying Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline. Welcome to the brave new world, where Europeans will very soon be paying €2 for 1 cubic meter of natural gas. So that's very heavy price they will have to pay. um, and Europe is heavily dependent on Russia, so this is the Russian contribution to European gas. Now, I granted it has decreased slightly from 2019 in 2020, but still extremely high. So this is the package of European sanctions that I was talking about earlier. So this is so European Union proposed sanctions to target those involved in recognition of breakaway regions. European Union proposed sanction target banks financing Russian military and other operations in the region. Target Russian ability to tap EU capital and financial markets. Target trade from two breakaway regions to and from a European Union. Says ministers to meet to finalize proposed first package of sanctions, and has prepared and stands ready to adopt additional measures at a later stage if needed. So yeah, these are the sanctions that they will be putting in place, and more may come if needed. And naturally, European natural gas jumped 13% today. So prices are already increasing. Moving on, first, Syria has become first country to recognize and back Russia on the breakaway Ukrainian regions. The Syrian government of Bashar al-Assad marks the first to say it supports Vladimir Putin's decision to recognize the breakaway separatist republics in eastern Ukraine as independent. So yeah, so Syria is the first one. Now China is also coming in support of Russia and not supporting West and its allies. So it's not bucking under the pressure of America. Moving on, UK has separately slapped sanctions on 5 Russian banks and 3 businessmen. And here is the list of the banks UK has put sanctions on. And Gennady Timoshenko and Boris Rottenberg and Igor Rottenberg will have their assets in UK frozen as well. Now, I also read a news today, and this was partly covered by me in yesterday or day before yesterday's vlog, that these are the breakaway regions that Russia has recognized, DNR and LNR. However, what the news was interesting in the fact that Russia is being very unclear and wishy-washy on if they will be okay with just this area, or they are talking about the larger Donetsk region and Luhansk region. And that's the interesting bit where Russia wants to keep its card, looks like, open, that should Ukraine and West doesn't accept its demands, then he will escalate it further into broader Luhansk and Donetsk regions. So yeah, it's kind of bad for Ukraine and the people of these areas. The conflict potentially may get worse. And lastly, this is again very bad sign, among among many bad signs that are happening in Western societies around liberties and freedoms. So now Tucker Carlson has been um, charged with treason. Well, not charged exactly. I mean, this guy, Howard Law professor, said he's guilty of treason over his support for Russia, or criticism of Biden over Russia. Now, I mean, I don't know what to say. It's crazy to say that somebody is treasonous just because they don't agree with somebody's view. Um, and this is a really bad slippery slope we are on. Anything that is not following the narrative is demonized, using these sort of reasons: treasonous, or non-patriotic, or racist. Just because I am criticizing, let's say, one black person for a legitimate reason doesn't make me racist. Just because I'm criticizing Russia or Biden for some of his actions doesn't make me I'm a Russian, I'm a proponent of Russia. Just because I am against mandates, illegal mandates I should say, doesn't make me a terrorist. So all these excuses and reasons, now it's so easy, and they are being used so frequently that which is very worrying sign. And they are essentially used to shut people up, basically those who have opposing sort of views. So yeah, Harvard Law professor Lawrence Tribe suggested that Fox News host Tucker Carlson could be guilty of treason for giving aid and comfort to Russia before hastily backpedaling and deleting his tweets. Well, as soon as it backfires on them, there is a pushback, then that's how they start behaving. Anyway, not good signs for Ukraine. As I mentioned yesterday as well, Ukraine is being trampled between the fight among two elephants, and not good for the people of Ukraine. So that's it for today. I will keep you guys posted, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.